All right, we're going. Hey, Cedar Rapids, surrounding area, Iowa City, Amanas. That's where this guy's from. Tim Nash here with Skogman Realty, and I am here with another episode of Veteran Owned Iowa. It's just a series where I like to talk to local business owners. Oh, Siri. Siri's talking to me. Does your phone ever do that? All right, so but Veteran Owned Iowa, where I talk to business owners that also are veterans here in the local area. So today I'm here with JJ Hardy with Victory Business Consulting, and we are hanging out today. We've actually just finished chatting for about an hour here at Kismet Coffee, which is a really cool new coffee shop here in the Nubo area. If you're familiar with the area, it's right next to the Iowa Running Company here on 3rd Street Southeast. Really cool concept. It's a couple that owns the business, and the guy loves coffee and the girl loves flowers. So you come in, downstairs you can get a great cup of coffee, and upstairs, which is where we're hanging out right now, you can get flowers. So Kismet Coffee and Bloom, check it out. Great little place to meet with people and have a cup of coffee. Okay, so JJ, military service.
Yes.
So what was your MLS?
I was in 88 November, which is a transportation management coordinator for a long time.
Okay.
And then I served the rest of my career as an 882 Alpha, which is a mobility warrant officer.
Awesome. And you got out at what rank?
A CW2, Chief Warrant
CW2.
Officer 2, out of Fort Wainwright, Alaska.
All right, Chief. All right, cool. Fantastic. All right, and then any deployments on your belt?
Yes, I did 3 combat deployments to Iraq.
Okay. Whereabouts in Iraq?
So actually, I served my first one in Talil,
Okay.
and my last one in Talil. So they were completely different places each time I was there. But then I served my second one in the Baghdad area.
Okay, Green Zone?
No, so it was actually it was camp. I lived on Camp Liberty and I worked at sites.
Familiar.
If you're familiar with
Familiar.
the area, yes.
Yep. Yeah, no, familiar with that whole area. I think someday I want to go back to Iraq. I want to visit as a tourist just to see it all. I lived in the Green Zone for 6 months, but my headquarters was out of Camp Liberty.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Okay. Yeah. I had traveled over to the Green Zone and saw the cross sabers and all that a couple times.
It was cushy. It was cushy. It was cushy. For any of those that spent time in the Green Zone,
Yep.
you almost didn't feel like you're on deployment, except for when the mortars came over.
Right.
All right. So, well, thank you so much for being on Veteran Owned Iowa. Excited to have you. So, what JJ's company, Victory Business Consulting, does, and this is my version, and we'll let JJ talk about more. But I actually heard JJ speak at a 1 Million Cups event here in Cedar Rapids, and JJ is basically bringing his leadership experience that he gained through the military, and he's helping out business owners, individuals, basically anyone that feels they might need your services. And when I heard him speak, I've had the opportunity to observe different leadership styles in the civilian sector, so with different businesses, and sometimes I shake my head at the way that teams are managed, the way the businesses are managed. And when I heard JJ speak at the 1 Million Cups event, it just clicked, and he's really got something going here. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great business. So
Thank you.
Why don't you talk a little bit about kind of how you came to, what's your story?
Yeah, so I retired from the military in 2018 from the Army, and I worked in a couple of civilian jobs, and I basically what you just got done saying, it's slightly unorganized chaos most times, and people that are thrown into leadership positions, management or supervisor, they don't really get a lot of training, and it's not what I would consider deep structure to too many organizations. It's just kind of making it work. So what I focus on, what I'm trying to focus on in my business and helping companies is how to properly implement decentralized leadership. So giving everybody their tasks at every level so that not one person has to run the entire organization, or a couple people have to run the entire organization. And if done properly, it works extremely well and can help any company scale to a very large and successful organization.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I first commissioned as a lieutenant, and I remember thinking about, and I only had 25, 30 guys that I was in charge of, soldiers. But, you know, I remember being trained through the military. They said, well, you're really only in charge of a platoon sergeant and 4 squad leaders. So you really only have to deal with 5 people in order to make stuff happen.
Yep.
And I think when, and that's an example of decentralized leadership, because then my commander would have been in charge of the platoon leaders, etc. And it just really makes sense. It takes away the overwhelming burden of leadership, or at least that overwhelming burden of, I've got all these, it's this great big huge scary thing, right?
Well, and actually, to take it one step further, I've read studies and articles that go into more detail on that. If you have more than 8 people working directly for you, you start to lose efficiency in how you're able to manage whatever operation you're given to control. So, I think that, you know, giving people 4 to 8 people to manage, and then letting them each take care of their own teams or operation, I think it's a wonderful thing to do. And I've seen it work just like you have.
Yeah, and there was so at that presentation that I've talked about, there was a great question about decentralized leadership, and you had an answer about ownership.
Yes.
Can you expand on that a little bit? Because I love that.
Yeah, ownership. So the question that was asked over there is, how does the military use decentralized leadership? And basically what I explained was how the task process goes down, and how orders are issued, and how when that task comes down initially, it's briefed to senior people at their organization, and those people are required to go back to their organization and make a plan, which then, that next level, their platoon sergeants and everybody else at that level, they're all required to plan internally too, and everybody filters their plans and brief their commanders and everything all the way up to the highest level again, and that's when it's executed. But what that does, when you give everybody a portion of that plan to think about and to collaborate and all that other stuff, is once it's time to execute that, and they know that they've been given that little portion, even if it's just a small chunk of that plan, it's theirs. They own it, and because they own it, now they're gonna have they kind of have skin in the game, and they're going to execute it a lot better because it was their plan. It's not something that's just forced down their throat.
Exactly. Yeah, which I think is just I think that's really valuable. It like there's some of that skin in the game, and people have been provided to be given, or people have been given the opportunity to provide their input, and so therefore it's not just somebody telling them what to do. It's we've developed this plan together. So I think that's really valuable.
It is, yeah. And I mean, not only does it give people skin in the game, but when it comes to being valued in an organization, people, when they're given their part of the plan to have to think about, and then they're put in charge of it to execute it as well, they feel valued.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, so when a lot of these companies are having problems with employee retention and productivity, I mean, the things that we just talked about kind of fix both of those things. Because when you feel valued in an organization, do you really want to leave?
Right.
I don't think so.
Exactly. So, I mean, so that kind of goes back to, so what are the things that you feel you can directly affect when you're working with these businesses? Like what retention was one of them that you kind of talked about, but like,
so definitely those are the two things. So employee retention, so reducing the amount of turnover that an organization has is really the biggest thing, because I feel like everybody should have a good place to work.
Right.
And when they're given, I'll keep on going back to skin in the game, they feel valued. They know that they're trusted by their leadership at higher levels, and then on top of that, when you only have to manage the smaller teams, productivity, it increases because every person has less that they have to manage, so that they can get a lot more done.
Awesome. Now, so when you started this business, what was the ideal client that you had in mind? Like, who are you looking to help?
So until I scale, or if larger companies would allow me to kind of do different parts of their organization at a different time, really it's just small. So when I say a small company, people that may have a leadership structure in place, but it's not defined, or medium-sized company, so they might have up to 100 people working for them, and they're having the same issues, but it's just at a higher level.
Right.
Those would be my ideal clients. anything higher than that, as I said, if they allow me to break it up and do different sections within their organization, I think it would be still effective. But
Sure.
ideally, those small to medium sized clients would be a lot easier to deal with as one person
Sure.
in an operation.
Sure. So, okay. So if people are watching this, or when people hear you speak, what is the what do they need to, what's the tell me more? Like, what do they need to do? They need to reach out to you. Like, you have a website.
I do.
So how do people contact you, and what's that initial contact look like, I guess?
Yeah, so I mean, you can Google my business. It's Victory Business Consulting, and I'm on there. My website is victoryconsulting.business.
I'll put it in the feed
And
below this video.
he'll have that there.
You click on that.
And I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. So if you go to any of those and type in my business name, you should be able to find me. On Instagram, it is victory_business_consulting.
Okay.
So that's the only one that's a little bit weird. But otherwise, you can just type me in there and you should find me.
Perfect. Fantastic. That's great. Thanks so much for being on. Check out if you know that JJ is speaking at an event, because you are doing a lot of presentations. You're out in the community. The 1 Million Cups was a great example of that.
Yes.
But also, you can click on that link. JJ is happy to come out, have a cup of coffee with you, just have a sit down, and just chat with you for a while and kind of see where you're at. And we've been doing that for the last hour, and it's been awesome.
Yes.
So yeah,
I just like to get to know what people are doing out in the community too, even if
Exactly.
it doesn't lead to business. I just think it's wonderful to hear all the great things that people are doing.
Yep. And you're loving. This is your first Iowa winter, although you
I grew up here.
You grew up here. Never mind. All right. Well, thanks for checking out this episode of Veteran-Owned Iowa. JJ Hardy, Victory Business Consulting. We are at Kismet Coffee and Bloom, so come check that out. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.